Hi, good morning, Internet. Today is Tuesday, March 7th. This is the Jupyter Weekly Dev Meeting. We're over in the March issue of our meeting notes in Dropbox paper. The link, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link is in the notes section there on YouTube. So let's see. Last week, so I put a link out to the February notes if folks want to go back and look at our archives, and the video should be in our notes also for this week. I want to skip, as I'm looking at the notes, I have action items in from last week and also from the week before. So for the items that are in the week before, could folks please check off what's done so we can start to wipe that those things out. Excuse me. Thank you. So for the action items from last week, Mike was looking for some expertise in LaTeX. Mike, are you getting enough feedback there?
I'm getting no feedback, but I'm making progress on my own.
Okay, so maybe it's time to reach outside the expertise of our group if folks here aren't able to help you out. Oh, but you feel like you're making progress anyway.
Well, like it's not an action item if I'm not able to get it in the group, right? So I'll figure things out. I'm making progress, and I want to make sure that I have the right question to bring to people before I start talking to outside people.
Okay. Mike, you also have another action item. Contact Min when visiting.
So yeah, we need to talk.
There we go.
About Simula and Randy Levesque, I believe, a book and that. So I've now contacted you, so I will check it off, but we should talk more about it later.
Yeah, so I was actually, when I was at SIAM last week, I was at SIAM for a session organized by Randy, and his co-author, Dave Ketchison, on that book was there, and we chatted a little bit about things, not something we didn't make a lot of progress, but I am aware of this project, and we should definitely talk about it this week.
Sounds great.
Cool. All right. And finally, from last week, so big announcement for today, the JupyterCon CFP has another week. We extended the deadline by 1 week to March 14th. So that gives us another week to reach out to our networks, and folks who are watching this, reach out to your networks and encourage them to submit a talk to JupyterCon. That also includes tutorials. So if folks want to give a tutorial on a Jupyter-related project or approach, you can submit that through there too. And all the details are available at jupytercon.com, which will resolve to an O'Reilly site. But you should see the information right there. Okay, so let's see. We have our weekly news by organization. If we click on these, maybe the best thing to do is have the team leads go through their reports when it comes to the sections, your sections. So you're welcome to share your screen when we get there, or just go over the summaries that Carol's provided through the Pulse tool. Okay. So recap of some of the things I worked on last week and what I'm working on this week. I already mentioned the CFP deadline that's been extended. Fernando and the team and I submitted the foundation report last Wednesday. We did a lot of really good work updating our report and sending it off. So thanks to the Berkeley team for all your help. So Sunday we met with the binder crew and looked at ways to continue that forward. So it looks like, I won't talk about too many of the details right now, but it looks like we're able to kind of add additional people to binder to help resolve issues that come up, and add technology that will automatically solve some of the things that the binder folks had been doing manually when it has gone down. Tomorrow I'm visiting UC Davis to sit in on the reproducible research in Jupyter curriculum given by Data Carpentry, and the lesson that they'll be doing tomorrow morning is a publishing and sharing lesson. So I'll bring back any lessons learned from that. And then this week, of course, I'll be working with Min and Carol on different things, including the release schedule and the release history, and possibly other metrics if there is time. All right. So IPython, Matthias, are you ready to give your update, or do you want me to skip?
No, it's fine.
I see y'all typing.
Cold, so
Matthias has a cold.
So mostly there have been some requests to bring back, I don't know where I am.
You're right here.
Yeah. There have been some requests to bring back ability to get the readline interface in IPython. There are some disagreements with some of us who thinks it's a good idea to at least have hooks, and some other who thinks it's not a good idea and that it should just be a completely separate package that has no hooks into IPython itself. There is an issue link in the release notes. If you have the use or if you don't have the use, please go read the issue and weigh in on whether it would be a nice thing or not, and if the proposed solution would be enough for you. Otherwise, this week we're participating in the Dockathon, which is here in Berkeley, also, I mean, everywhere online at the same time. So we're focusing on writing docs and making documentation better. It's really nice. We have nice graphs. Please see the Dockathon website and help us to write good docs. And otherwise, I'm looking at making the interactive experience with async and await with Python 3.6 and above better in the repo, not have to manually make tasks out of coroutines and pass them into a loop, but it's just a project. If you're interested and have ideas about that, just send me your ideas. And that's about it for this week. Thank you.
Oh, I actually had a couple questions about the notebook stuff. So Paul and I last week sat down and started looking through some of the testing procedures that we have for the notebooks. And all of them right now are essentially, like they're using a browser emulator to create a DOM and like investigate that directly. Is there a reason why we've taken that approach as opposed? I know historically that was easier to do at the time because testing within JavaScript per se wasn't always going to be as reliable given JavaScript. But is there a reason why we wouldn't also do testing purely on the JavaScript side? Or
because most of our JavaScript does not run in headless mode. You need a browser environment because jQuery.
Okay.
So there's very little JavaScript that we actually have that doesn't do something on the page.
I don't think the idea was that it doesn't do something on the page, but more that, so this came up in the context of testing LaTeX and MathJax rendering. And if you try to actually test what MathJax is rendering on a page, first of all, if your test is too closely linked to what they're laying out, then every time they change something, then it now fails. But also, it's a really for a sufficiently complicated input, like it is an incredibly complicated output. And so there are simplifications that we can make, but it would be helpful to know, like for just some of the string parsing stuff, which was the cause of some of the bugs that we've been having with tech parsing for a long time now. Is that fine to do just in the pure JavaScript? It can still be done inside Casper, but just without actually rendering a DOM and querying the DOM.
Just as a data point, we use Karma with Firefox to test on Travis in headless mode, and we test the rendered output for lots of things, and it works quite well. That's not saying that testing the rendered LaTeX output is easy. That's extremely hard. But if the concern is about running headless and not having a DOM that actually renders in terms of geometry, you can solve that with Karma and Firefox on Travis.
Yeah, I think they're you definitely can you can test directly. There are some tests already that just take a JavaScript function, run it, and then test its outputs and don't actually interact with the page. It's just because we already our existing test runner stuff happens to instantiate a notebook page, that's where it runs, but it doesn't matter that that's where it runs.
Okay, and there's no principled, like, we need to be testing the, like, just graphical display.
It just happens to be the machinery that we have for getting a context in which to run some JavaScript. At this point, I don't think anybody's super happy with the Casper stuff, but given the status of the notebook repo, I think most people have thought that it's not worth like migrating all those tests over to Karma, since that whole repo is set to be replaced by Jupyter Lab in a not too distant time frame. That writing tests with the existing framework, which is fine.
It's not that easy for someone who doesn't know the framework.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that? Could you speak up, Matthias? I couldn't hear you.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It's not that easy to write tests for someone who doesn't know the framework.
Yes, that is also true. We don't really have much in the way, or the documentation that we had for writing tests is woefully out of date. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to that this week, but that's something that the other thing was Thomas had the sort of opinion on a couple of issues that we just shouldn't bother with tests in the notebook, or at least with new ones. And I think Paul objected. And I just wanted to know, should we continue to add tests, or should we sort of keep that like as stasis?
Yeah, no, I think it's appropriate to add tests. I think given the tricky nature of the test suite for the notebook repo, I don't think we want to require new contributors to have tests for their new code, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't write tests for people we can expect to put in the effort to deal with the unpleasant tools we have.
Okay, well, also.
And related to that, Steve, could you say a word or two about the tests we have for the Jupyter Lab notebook component?
I don't understand what you mean.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say there's a huge number of tests that we're running in Jupyter Lab, and Steve and Darian have both worked quite a bit on testing. I don't know what the coverage is. That's what I was asking you to refer to. What the coverage of the Jupyter Lab notebook component is in testing.
I'm not sure we've measured it, but all of the public APIs are exercised.
So Min was talking about in the not too distant future, switch to Jupyter Lab, and we've taken testing pretty seriously in Jupyter Lab.
Yeah, so we're already doing a better job with the much better job with the next generation stuff. So I'm not as concerned about that.
Okay. What would the idea then be for new contributors? They submit a PR, we merge it, and then one of us immediately creates a new issue saying like, oh, this PR needs tests if it introduces new features, and then make a new PR in that way, so that there is some period of time during which the new features are added but none tested. Or do we just require that all contributors allow us to push to their repos, like the check the edit like from contributors button type thing?
I don't think we need to be as formal as that, but okay. But roughly, yeah. So, if someone contributes something and you want to make sure there's tests for it, then we can merge and add tests in a second PR. You can even open that second PR before the first one's merged, and just base it on that one.
That sounds good. I just wanted to avoid any more of the conversations of are we testing or not, by having like a decently laid out like plan for every time that question might come up. Then this sounds good.
Adding tests is fine. I think it's more that we feel bad enough about the current state of our test tools that we don't want to obligate every contributor to deal with it.
Part of the problem that Paul raised up was that features were being merged on something that is effectively dying off. I was like, this is not the future. So, and if we're not going to invest in infrastructure, we probably shouldn't invest in features. and there should be an overall feature freeze.
Yeah, I think I think there are discussions and decisions to be had around that. In terms of what really is the current state of the notebook repo in terms of further development and when to really freeze it and point people at Jupyter Lab for new features.
I think that's
I just
yeah.
I just ran the notebook test, Jason, if you're curious. For just the notebook component, we have about 72% coverage.
And that's a Jupyter Lab notebook component.
Yeah, the Jupyter Lab notebook component. Now that's 72% of lines, but I think all the public API functions, like all the surface areas hit, but not like every branch probably.
Whoever just spoke, we didn't get that. All right.
So let's go back. You had a question. You had a question.
Oh, I just had a question about your async stuff. Since you were saying 3.6 and later, what was the reason that?
So 3.5 has async keyword. Okay, and anyway, you can't await a coroutine in the repo. You have to put it in the function and call the function in the loop. And I just want to get that because it's annoying.
Yeah, okay. So it was for the keywords, it wasn't specific to 3.6. It was just you were saying 3.6 as in the keywords.
Yeah, and I will probably use 3.6 on the APIs. So
okay, sure.
All right. Are we ready to continue? Okay, great. So a lot more to unpack for future conversations. Thanks, Matthias. Next, we have Notebook, Grant, Thomas, and Jason.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm not sure if Thomas is in the meeting right now, but we are close to doing another beta release. I have one question for Min regarding the test the cell tags toolbar PR.
Yeah.
Is that ready to merge?
It was last I checked. And,
okay.
It ran. It worked.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. So it looks like the everything's passed. So I'll get that merged, and then Thomas started the show server root directory in the move dialog. So I'll finish that up for him today and get both of those merged, do a new release, hopefully by end of day. And then I think it's just a matter of, we'll test it for a couple of days, and then I think we can escalate to a full-on public release.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Wait, and that would be Notebook 5.0?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you add it down at the bottom of the paper? I don't think we had it in the release section of the notes.
Thanks, Jason.
It'd be nice to get all of the LaTeX stuff processed appropriately. Do we want to merge that now? Because it does look correct before the release, because otherwise we're just going to have another main generation that has broken like math jacks. That's no fun for anyone.
Which one is that? Which thing are you referring to?
Just a second, I'm trying to find it.
I just want to point out, I did actually copy that code into Jupyter Lab and wrote tests for it. So I'm going to link to that PR. So the code is tested, just not in Notebook.
Okay, yeah, then
this is actually something on the Notebook side that needs to be fixed.
What's this? It's been an issue. The LaTeX stuff has been an issue for over 2 years.
And it's Notebook side code as opposed to
yes,
in the format. Okay.
Just to be clear, you're referring to pull requests 2220, is that?
2220, yeah.
Anything else from the
Yeah,
notebook?
came up.
No, that's all I have. But this sounds like it might be something that we need to get merged in before we do any releases.
Okay, great.
So, yeah, I'll talk to Mike about this.
Yeah, we can put in some time today and try to get it in the beta and get it tested for a bit.
Yeah. Do you want me, if that should be my priority, I'm happy to make that my priority. Getting the test in that.
Perfect. And I can help you write a test.
Sweet.
All right, great. Jason, anything else on your end for a notebook?
Nope.
Okay, thanks. Next, Mike, you got 2 points on MB Convert.
So I've gotten a lot of progress on the math, on the Unicode coverage locally. I'm more or less giving up on getting it ever to work on Travis. At a future date, we're going to have a longer discussion around what we want to do around that, because it may mean disabling the tests for that part of the Travis build. Because if we can't get the fonts to be found appropriately on Travis, but we can on everyone's systems, otherwise, it seems strange to rely on Travis. And I think it has something to do with the way it's building the directory structure and what it thinks are its available fonts and how TechLive standardly installs fonts. Because ZellaText should be able to find them wherever they are in your system. So, but I've gotten at least the Unicode coverage in verbatim math and Roman text and italicized and all that. The problem is that combining characters are still acting very strangely. Sometimes they are combining seemingly in the wrong direction. It may have been a change in Unicode 9.0 that I need to look up, because it is producing this problem more in some cases than others. So yeah, that's just something I need to do. But there's still a complication around even finding a font that has all the symbols that we are supposed to be able to include. According to IPython, there's a set of symbols that we can have as valid identifier names. And I have yet to find a font, even a web font, available that covers all of those characters. If you currently if you just load that page or load that file into a current notebook, you will see that many of the characters simply are not rendered. Or rather they have their, whatever the particular formats, hey, this is a non-legitimate character shape instead. So working on all of that, that's been fun. And then there was discussion after last week's meeting about generating JSON schema for traitlets so that you could do automatic UI for configuration in Jupyter Lab. In talking with other people this week and moving forward, I'm looking into that. I think my first plan of attack there is going to be just getting some nice JSON export of the configuration, just better documenting how that is supposed to work, because that documentation doesn't exist. And taking that as a first step, because once we have that generated, then the possibility of like building the schema that it can check against the things that we already use becomes more plausible.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Next, we have Pete, admin services. Mostly Pete.
I haven't done anything on that last week.
Your name's on it, Pete.
Well, actually, Min did. You submitted a PR to fix the session serialization in kernel gateway. So.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't remember. It's fine.
Nice try.
Good job, man. So yeah, on kernel gateway, there's a couple
issues open, just plowing through them one at a time and helping to just making it compatible with Notebook 5. So one of those was the bug I just mentioned that's been fixed. Another is deprecating the activity API that we put in the kernel gateway a while ago in favor of the one in Notebook. That seems to be a very simple change. It is a breaking API change, so we'll call the next kernel gateway release 2.0. And the third one I had open for this release was it was a user request a while ago to match in kernel gateway the token scheme that Notebook is now using, which I think we can in spirit, though not, using the code that's there, because the Notebook's code still relies on a one-time token and then sets a cookie, which doesn't really help programmatic access, which I believe is what the kernel gateway is mainly for. But I have some ideas, and I'll send in a PR that other folks can look at for what we can do with tokens.
So there's two tokens in the Notebook. There's a one-time token that's used for opening the browser automatically, and then there's a long-term token that's used like in the authorization header.
Okay. Is that one, is the long-term one supported on as a query yard as well, or is it only the header?
Both.
Okay. All right. So I must have missed that one. So I'll look at that too. Maybe we can reuse the code.
Yeah.
So one thing that I realized some people were doing for debugging is actually open a session in multiple browser. The one nice thing that would be nice to have is a way to click on the main notebook UI and get a copy pastable token without having to see the terminal.
I have an issue for that.
Okay.
Written it, but I thought this could be done. We should do this.
I think it's issue. But, yeah.
All right, Pete. Oh shoot, did we talk about the dashboard stuff?
That one's quick. There's a bunch of PRs that are waiting for the Notebook 5.0 final release to make them all Notebook 5.0 compatible, and in some cases 5.0 and up compatible. They're breaking backwards changes. Again, version numbers have been bumped appropriately, but they just need to sit there until 5.0 finals out. No reason to merge between them.
Gotcha. So related to dashboards, we have a comment on the mailing list asking about Binder, and they're finding that the incubator showcase is down. I think it's probably on the Binder end that it's failing, but I don't know if you have time to look at the code to just see if there's anything in there that would cause it to fail.
It probably hasn't been working in quite some time. So.
Okay.
But yeah, if I get a minute, I'll take a look if there's a way to resurrect it.
Okay.
I think in general, we put that up early when it was very difficult to install the extensions. I mean, this was back with Notebook 4.0 and even before 4.0. And at this point, I think it's relatively easy for people to try them out on their own. So that's sort of why I fell into disrepair.
Okay. So maybe if you take a look at it and it's not worth investing a lot of time in now, maybe in the future we can update it. Maybe you could make a comment. You could just comment on that mailing list note to let the user know that there's other ways to view the information.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. All right, great, thanks. All right, Jupyter Lab.
Okay. We released 0.17 recently. I can't remember the day. There's a link to the release notes. Basically, it comes with the new command palette that came for free when we switched over to the Phosphor upgrade, as well as some changes to RenderMime, prompted by some API changes that Grant wanted for his advanced rendering with Altair widgets and his other crop of renderers. Additionally, we experimented with Lerna, which is a tool that lets you have multiple packages, npm packages in the same repo. Interact is using it, and so we modeled it after the same pattern in that each sub package has an independent version, but for the developer they're all symbolic linked together, so you have a coherent view of all your packages while you're developing, and then they get released as a unit. So Lerna automates all that for you, so we don't have to write the scripts. Lerna's already done it. So we did the experiment and then converted Phosphor to use that instead of using the TypeScript compiler to work around the issue. Lerna does the sim linking for us. And then so we're going to follow that same pattern in Jupyter Lab. We're in progress right now of just cleaning up where the folders are, what the final package names will be, and then that'll switch over. And the end result is the individual packages will be consumable as opposed to needing to require the entirety of Jupyter Lab as a single unit. So for third-party use, they can just pull in the parts they need. And then for extension authors as well, they just pull in the parts of Jupyter Lab that they want for extension purposes. And additionally, Darian battled the hard battle of figuring out how to get a hover box to coherently behave in the face of multiple nested scrolling and where it should draw itself on the page. So this is used by our tooltip as well as a completer as a widget that floats above a point of interest in an intelligent way and goes away when it's no longer relevant. There's a lot of edge cases I hate to work out with that, so I don't envy that. And that's about it. And then Chris is working on single document mode for Phosphorus that allows the doc panel to enter into a sort of maximize or Zen view so that you're working on just a single document. And then you can toggle between the two views. So it is a work in progress, preliminary PR that enables a single document to be located within that area, and then follow on to actually implement the Zen mode, the document mode on the doc panel.
Cool. Nice. Thanks for the update. Ian, did you want to give an update on your work today? Ian's here.
Hi, I'm sitting on the other side of the computer. I went down and met with Brian last week. We had a lot of good chats about various UI questions for doing real-time collaboration. I'm working on typesetting up some notes from that meeting, and I'll sprinkle them into various issues and PRs as necessary. So keep an eye out for that.
Thanks, Ian. We're kind of limited in our technology today. We don't have a camera, so I gotta move my laptop around. Let's see here. IPy widgets, Jason and Sylvan. How is it going?
Jason, are you here?
He's here.
Yeah. Do you want me to
go ahead. I'm in a noisy environment.
Okay. So the announcement of the year for us is that we released IPyWidget 6. So yeah, and things seem to be going fairly smoothly. There's comments here and there. Main hiccups seem to be lack of an output widget on web context, so that the interacts don't show up correctly, and like the Sphinx documentation and stuff. And Sylvan, I think, is going to work on that. And also, there's some questions about matplotlib plotting. Now, the interact, you need to do plt.show explicitly. But there's some conversations we're having in the IPython repo about making that all automatic again. But other than that, it seems like it's been fairly smooth. We're moving ahead. I'm moving the widgets over to the new Phosphor framework and updating it to work in the new Jupyter Lab, which is a continual whack-a-mole game, but with good reason. And Jupyter Lab is alpha. We all knew that. And anything else you want to add, Sylvan?
Yeah, we made releases of a bunch of downstream packages, so Py3.js, IPyLeaflet, Jupyter Sphinx, and so there hasn't been any major issue where we're doing that. So like just updating for IPyWidget 6, and Bqplot is coming in the next couple of days.
Yeah, and if you want to see a cool example of the widgets, you should go check out the IPyVolume package, IPY volume package. Their documentation has some live widgets with some cool volumetric rendering that even works in stereo, and even works if you put it on your phone and you have one of those little cardboard viewers, even works in like 3D, virtual reality type mode. Really pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an amazing package. It's really cool.
Could you add that to the notes? That sounds cool.
Yeah, actually, Martin, who wrote the package, based it on IPyWidget 6 beta from a few months ago, and was working from the beta version from the start.
In other news, we're hoping to submit a IPyWidgets tutorial for SciPy and probably for JupyterCon as well. Basically, think of the widgets as an ecosystem. Here's a lot of the cool stuff that's going on, and here's how you could write your own widget. So we're getting that together, and hopefully you'll submit it this week to SciPy and JupyterCon.
Great. And just for those of you who joined later, we extended the CFP deadline by a week. So the new deadline is March 14th. So please share that with your networks and colleagues.
Particularly tutorials.
Oh, particularly tutorials.
For the core dev group here.
Gotcha.
The stronger tutorials we can have submitted from our team as well as the community, the better the whole workshop tutorial experience will be. So get your talks in, but also get some tutorials in.
Right.
Yeah, Steve, I'm curious what you think about a Jupyter Lab tutorial, building extensions for Jupyter Lab, architecture of Jupyter Lab, that sort of thing. Maybe we could take this offline, but.
I think how to use Jupyter Lab would be helpful because demoing it in Ann Arbor with all the things that you might not know is there without actually seeing it would be really useful. And then it would all be recorded too.
Yeah, maybe we could do a tutorial where the first part was how to use Jupyter Lab and then go sorry, go into the architecture of Jupyter Lab and maybe finish up with like writing a very simple extension or something.
Right.
So 3 hours.
Demo would work well for a big chunk of it. That worked great. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's take that offline and think about it.
All right. So next up is Jupyter Hub.
Oh, I actually had a quick thing if we're talking about conference stuff, which is that if we want more core devs to submit tutorials and whatnot, maybe we should get together a document suggesting topics, even if the person suggesting the topic isn't the one who would give the tutorial, so that we can then start like figuring this out. Like, yes, it should happen offline, but I hadn't even really considered it, and now I am, but I wouldn't be sure what people would want to know about. So that's all. I'm just suggesting if we want more submissions from us, we should enable that. I'm happy to organize a doc. I mean, I'll just open it and then, yeah. All right, that's all.
Thanks, Mike. Jupyter Hub.
I've been traveling, so I haven't done much in the last week.
I've been traveling as well. I did the whole Midwest college circuit, university circuit. People love Jupyter Lab. They are really excited about using Jupyter Hub in education and high performance computing. So, and the widgets, thank you, Sylvan, for all the stuff that you gave me before the talks because they went really well and people just love it. So great job, everybody.
Yay.
That's it.
Woo. Okay. All right, great. We're in the conferences outreach. Have something to share? No? Okay.
Some good music.
Oh, music? Can't hear you. Okay. He's going to sign it. Okay. Sign languages. Hold up a sign. Right. So let's see here. There is a new bullet in the conferences outreach section.
Christians.
Oh, the multiple. So yeah, Christians.
We're going to circle back to Jupyter Hub.
One Jupyter Hub thing is that Christian Bar has been working on porting multiple servers for each user, and Jupyter Hub just landed the first big PR implementing the core of that stuff. So that stuff is moving along nicely.
Yeah, nice big PR from a community member. So good.
Yay.
Good plus on that.
Yeah.
Way to go, Kristen. Okay. So now I am going to move into the conferences outreach section. I wanted to share something with you guys. I know you've probably seen it once before, but let me just show you again. If I can get my mouse working. All right. Can somebody audibly tell me that they can see my screen?
We can see it.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank
your
you.
screen is visible.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so this is our 2017 Jupyter Team Conference and event calendar that we're keeping in projects. Oh, sorry.
That's okay, don't
We
worry.
can't actually see it in the room. I'm the only person who can see it. But so what I'm showing you right now is this month, March, going forward. And I wanted to point out that we're starting to get into conference season, and we're starting to add different conferences to each of the months. So if you are attending the conference, the easiest way to add a card to this board, which is what I would love the team to do, is to go up here to where this plus sign is and click it, and it says enter a note. So that's the prompt. And so this is where you want to enter the event, right? And then a post, and then the dates, okay, and then the location. Okay, and so then you can add the note, and it'll just kind of create this really basic card here on the board. And if you use this drop-down arrow, you can convert it to an issue. It'll ask you, It'll ask you which repo you want to add the issue to, and you can, right now we'll just add it to project management. Okay, and then in the body, it's really useful if you add a link to the conference website, but if you don't, that can be done later. So you click convert to issue, and that'll turn it into an issue on the board. One final step is actually clicking on it to open the issue and assigning yourself, so we know who is actually going to that event. So, with the other events that we have going on that are coming up, High Data Amsterdam is on here already. So I've been adding events as they've come up in our meetings. But if you see an event on here that you're going to that's not assigned, go ahead and add yourself. And one quick look at May shows that May is full of conferences. So in terms of just development on the team, don't expect to get a lot of work done in May if you have working on a big project that has, pulls in folks from all parts of the team. So that is today's public service announcement from the project management department. Okay, I want to turn this off. Okay, you guys can see me now. Comment. Is there a YouTube tutorial of the project? Yeah, so last week was a busy week with the foundation report. So that is something I hope to get up shortly. So I'll distribute for those of you who are watching the video right now, we had a project management tutorial where Brian Json went over the schema for the labeling, ontology or taxonomy. Matthias went over his bot for moving issues around and doing all sorts of other cool things in GitHub. Grant went over some of his approach using GitHub projects as a developer, and I went over some of the tools that I've been starting to build out. So one thing that I'll do for folks is I might schedule a viewing party because like Jess Hamrick couldn't come either, and it would be great to get a few folks together here on campus anyway and online who weren't able to make it, and we can watch it together and ask and answer questions. And then we'll also provide a link to the YouTube video online with the notes. So hope to do that this week. I am traveling a little bit this week, so next week at the latest. Okay, let me find my mouse again. And what's next? Okay, so we have all of our events that we've already announced and action items for this week. One, please weigh in on the great readline debate, which has been linked here. That's from Ian. Did you want to give any background? Is this something people mentioned? Oh, okay, thank you. All right. Right, because you're the action items guy. All right, and then write documentation as a satellite participant at the Docathon. And let me just say that the Docathon has an amazing turnout. The whole BIDS auditorium or the room is full. and everybody is really into it. So it looks like it's a great success this week. So way to go, Matthias, and all the other Dockathon folks who put time into that. Releases this week, Notebook 5.0. That's the end of my part. Does anyone else have anything they want to add to the end while we're
Just wanted to point out that I did link to a new document that is specifically at the end of the conferences section. If anyone wants to suggest, and I pre-populated it with a template that people can copy and paste for other suggested things, and included the one that Carol was just suggesting, Jupyter Lab, like instruction with Steve potentially as the lead on that. And I plus one it.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Anyone else? No? Okay. Well, thanks, Internet. We'll see you next week.